How to Create a Glitch Monologues Season 27 Chapter 4. This is Season 27 of How to Create a Glitch in the Matrix Monologues Episode 4. In this episode, we will be elaborating the potential energy associated with a shift represented by making one consumption choice or another. To start out, in the last episode, we looked at the example of disappearing object phenomenon from Season 26 Episode 3. We suggested or hypothesized that the potential energy associated with a choice could dislodge one from a dissonant consensuality to another, from one parallel reality to another. The basis for this idea was that parsimony chooses the simplest path from point A to point B, where each point precedes a consumption choice. In our example, the phone ends up in your jacket pocket as opposed to your pants pocket, because the simplest path from consumption choice A to B involves you smoking 2 cigarettes and drinking an orange energy drink. Now, if we look at each consumption choice holistically, we cannot look at them purely as a function of the mechanical energy each choice has on our body processes. There are direct consequences of smoking a cigarette or drinking an orange energy drink. These include the impact of the act on our body's consumption of energy, metabolism, as well as the impact on our bodily rhythms and their synchronization with the celestial rhythms. For example, it may be that if you smoke that second cigarette you won't sleep until 2 hours later that evening, having concomitant effects on your sleep cycle. Then, there are the indirect effects of a consumption choice. Choosing to smoke a cigarette has an impact on your lifestyle. It means you are subject to an addiction. It has its own cycle which it insinuates into your choices. In effect, if we imagine that the second cigarette is your second of all time, we can see that it will have a profound impact on your life from then on out. It will mean the increasing likelihood of a cigarette habit. It will affect your longevity, your health, and will have all the negative consequences of smoking. The point is, a cigarette is never just a cigarette. It must be understood as part of a larger pattern of behavior. In other words, if we look at this act holistically, we can see that the energy associated with that second cigarette is significant across the whole of your life, representing a much larger account of potential energy. Thus, due to this, we can see that the potential energy necessary to move from one dissonant consensuality to another is much more than just the physical impact of its consumption on our body's processes. In other words, every consumption choice is a complex question of how it will ultimately impact our lives on the balance associated with a potential energy loss or gain. In order to do this analysis, it required recognition that choices do not exist in a vacuum, and the impact of our choices have energetic qualities owing to our lifestyle and cycles of bodily rhythm. Given that we have already pointed out that lack of synchronization with the celestial rhythms leads to non-linearity, it is possible to see that certain choices are more energetic than others. That's the end of the podcast for today. If you enjoyed it, please like, comment and subscribe.